Boker Tov, good morning, everyone. For our meditation this morning, I wanted to combine themes, which is actually something that I did last week when we were both counting the Omer, but also had a little bit of a recognition of Earth Day. So this morning, we'll count the Omer when we get to that point of study and that sort of short period of drush and reflection. But I want to connect it to Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israel Independence Day, which is where we are today. And we're going to explore a theme that I think will speak not only to the day in our calendar, but also to continued energies that perhaps we need to help guide us through these weeks. So we'll start, as we usually do, with words of gratitude. Moda ani lefanecha melech chai v'kayam, shehechezata bi nishmati bechemla rabba emunatecha. Rabba emunatecha, those two words are words that we've chanted once before. Instead of the opening line, the closing phrase. How great is your trust, your faith? And it is such an interesting phrase in this opening blessing that is meant to be among the first things that we utter when we wake. Not that we express our faith and trust, but that we are announcing God's faith in us. I think that's an incredibly powerful affirmation. The idea of grace is something that is a word that in English we often associate with other faith traditions. But chen is the Hebrew. It's part of our tradition as well. It's difficult to define, but it's this sense, which actually we find in a lot of different religious and wisdom traditions, that we don't live with some expectation that we have a right to a certain kind of life or a certain kind of experience. We have hopes, we have dreams, we work towards things, but there's this acceptance, this understanding that the ebbs and flows are just that which come, and that we're not entitled to things unfolding in one particular way. And so this idea of not necessarily expressing our faith or trust, that some being is going to just unfold things just the way we want them to be, that's not the opening intention of the morning. But rather just simply the fact that I am here and present and have breath flowing through me means that this vessel has been entrusted with one more day of living, of life, in which I have been gifted the opportunity to be present to others, to the world, to the experience of being. And so recognizing sort of just through the flow of grace that I have been gifted just simply by being here in this moment is a way that we can orient ourselves to the day. Rabba emunatecha. Rabba emunatecha, 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 Rabba emunatecha rabba, emunatecha rabba, emunatecha rabba, emunatecha. Just simply being in the ebb and flow, even the sensation of the energy of the chant, the air around us, the flowing in and out of our breath. Rabba emunatecha. As much as it might feel to some of us that this day is predictable, we're at home, we're going to stay at home. There's so much that is unknown. There is so much to pay attention to as the day unfolds. You might receive a phone call, you might make a phone call. You might have classes or appointments or additional Zoom sessions. You might go and explore one of the many opportunities to connect with music and conversation and culture that is being offered today to celebrate Yom Ha'atzmaut online. And some new insight, some moment of joy might be experienced, some introduction to a new artist. A new bird might show up on a branch, on a tree outside the window. A new blossom might have appeared. The gift of the day truly is a gift if we begin by orienting ourselves to the possibilities, even on a day, on a week, on a month, when those possibilities feel like they have narrowed. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tohorahi. I want to connect with that purity of soul. I want to find space to just let the flow come through me. Not trying to control or judge or evaluate, but just simply being open to that which unfolds, to the flow of this moment and the next. Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. 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 Elohai neshama shenatata bi tehor hahi. 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 Connecting to the flow of all life. Notice the air around you and pay attention to where the edges of your physical being give way to the air, the space just beyond the edges of your body. And envision that place of transition not as hard, solid, fixed edge, but as something that is open, something that is just part of the continuation of all existence. And each of us, we're just part of that unfolding flow of energy. Rest into that flow and let it carry you as we take a couple of minutes of just silent breathing meditation. We just notice where we are in this moment. Bring our attention back to the space we're in and feel ourselves grounded, where we touch the seat, where our feet touch the ground. Feeling that sense of connection, we come back and continue with our blessing for study this morning. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who's hallowed us with your commandments and commanded us to occupy ourselves with words of Torah. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day. Teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day, that we may open our hearts to your wisdom. Oh, teach us to treasure each day. So we are in the counting of the Omer, counting where we were as of last night. And as I open up my Omer counter, we begin with the blessing for the counting of the Omer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom esrim yom shehem shnei shvuot v'shisha yamim ba'omer. Today is 20 days, which is 2 weeks and 6 days of the Omer. And we are in our Kabbalistic tree of life in the week of Tiferet, this place of beauty, this center place of balance in the middle here between Chesed and Gevurah. And this day today is the foundation, the Yesod of Tiferet. And I've spoken before about one of the ways I think about Tiferet myself is one in which there is some kind of purity, some kind of authenticity of joy that is experienced in that place of balance. And today I'm thinking about that in the context of this flow of just the unfolding, that which, if I'm not trying to grasp and control, but simply observing, that I am able to find and really deeply experience the joy in the simplest of moments. And I wanted to think about that in terms of this theme that I wanted to make a connection to Yom Ha'atzmaut today. The national anthem of the modern state of Israel is Tikvah, the hope. And I was thinking about that song, that anthem, and the role of hope, Tikvah, as part of our history. Right now, we are in 7 weeks that feel long, that sometimes feel hard, isolating and lonely. We know that there are weeks still ahead of us and then months beyond that. And we do not know when we will no longer be in this flow that is being directed by the need to maintain distance and try and minimize the number of people who are sick or who die from COVID-19. And the journey ahead seems long. But we were a people who were sent into exile. And after the destruction of the Second Temple, it was through our culture, through our rituals, through our prayers, that we continued to bring up a thought, a feeling, an expression of hope that one day there would be a return to the birthplace of our people. We kept that hope alive for almost 2,000 years before it became a reality. And so we are a people who have endured and who understand what it means to be carried with hope in our hearts. Even though in any particular moment of our history, dark clouds, persecution, and other unimaginable challenges would have completely clouded over any reason to have had hope. And yet we hear stories that even in those darkest places, the rabbis who taught in the Warsaw Ghetto, the individuals who found some way to observe a Passover or a Hanukkah, even in the midst of Auschwitz, it was hope that kept them going. There's a midrash that is connected to Lamentations, and actually derived from a line that I think is in the book of Jeremiah. So the historical setting is actually the first exile after the destruction of the first temple, which was a 70-year exile in Babylonia. And as the people are being marched out of the land, there's this line. I'll just quote it, so I'm going to bring it up for myself. This line that Rachel, the matriarch from the Bible, Rachel, is crying for her children. It's Jeremiah 31:14. And in this particular midrash, the midrash tells us that as the leaders of the Jewish people were sent into exile, that one after another, the patriarchs and then the matriarchs were asking God for mercy. And it was Rachel who arouses the compassion of the Holy One. And in this extended midrash, she talks about the way in which through her actions which, by the way, in this midrash go into more detail than what we find in our Torah text, she had enormous compassion for her sister and permitted her sister to get married to Jacob before her. And in fact, the midrash goes on to express the ways in which she facilitated that she performed this act of kindness, that she did not let herself be guided by jealousy, and neither did she want her sister to experience shame. And so out of her example and her crying for the people in exile, refusing to be comforted, the midrash says God tells her to withhold her weeping and her eyes from tears. There is hope for your end, the midrash says, promises God, and the children will return to their borders. There is hope for your end. So I was thinking about this particular midrash and this idea of hope coming out of the experience of genuine compassion and tears, and that somehow in the midst of loss and pain, even in that, we can sometimes find something that nourishes and sustains us and gives us the hope that this too will pass, this will change, that life continues. And the chant that I wanted to share with you is a chant that was written by Debbie Friedman in terms of the music, but it comes from Psalms. Psalm 126. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. That indeed there are tears to be shed. There are people who are mourning all kinds of losses at this time. And yet we must have hope, and we do have hope, that there will at some point be a different season upon us, a season of harvesting, and that we will be able to deeply experience and feel joy, just as we are able to deeply feel and experience those tears. And the example of Rachel, to express compassion and kindness, to not shame others. These are some of the traits that allow us, even in the midst of our mourning, to carry ourselves with grace. So let's offer this as a chant of hope on this Yom Ha'atzmaut. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears, will reap in joy. we come back together. Boker Tov.